against other melees, but if you have a double range against you, you might want to go Senna Seraphine or something like that that can be a little more abusive in the late game if the team doesn't have hard engage. So they have a lot of options, and I think they're going to go with 2 support items in this lane as well for the Senna, as well as whatever the support ends up being.
Yeah, and yeah, they're definitely going to do it for the Lucian side, I feel like. Go for the Blood Song for the Lucian off of first back. Nami having one as well. This is the one frustrating thing I have about the patch is the double support meta, but double support item meta, but it does seem like we are
so
going to have a lot of it.
So here's the cool thing about
We'll
this.
be off of it faster than anyone else.
The thing is, we're kind of late to this patch compared to the other regions that started a week ago, but those other regions weren't quick at picking up the double support items. We're very quick at picking up the double support item. And I don't know if that's because it's not like other regions were doing it a lot. So we're already innovating even though we weren't even on the fastest patch.
T1 did it as soon as Guma does it,
like
you got your
twice,
patch.
2 out of 6 games or something.
I will say, though, like I was saying before, since we are going to move on the live patch, we will be on 14.2 as it releases next week.
Next week, yeah.
So we will be off of this, and they'll have the correction. I believe Freak said that they're going to limit 1 support item purchase per team.
Oh, interesting.
So I think they're going to hard block it that way. Let's get back into this one, though, and focus here with FlyQuest and Shopify Rebellion having their first matchup. It is indeed going to be a very heavy healing, shielding comp. We already saw, iterations of this, but with Sarah Seraphine, they're also adding the Orianna on top of that. So massive, massive shields. And you're going to see that you want some melee champs to bounce the Seraphine ultimate off and to deliver the Orianna ball shockwave. So last 2 picks for FlyQuest, you can pretty much guarantee are going to be some melee champs for them to really get in there.
Those first 3 are nasty. Like, that is such an insane 1, 2, 3 in terms of overall shielding and team fight power, because it's not even like it's that low on damage. It's that to me is pretty close to Exodia if you're trying to build a team fight comp.
And it is a lot towards the scaling aspect too. So then Shopify is thinking, all right, maybe we need to make some early moves in here. And you also need to think, when you're playing against a Seraphine, Senna plus Orianna, you want to draft a champion that's going to be able to build the shield coating, the Serpent's Fang, so that you can reduce the effectiveness of all those massive shields. You get huge value out of that item. So that's another kind of angle here for the draft to keep in mind.
Then all eyes are on most likely Insanity then, because it's not going to be really possible for FakeGod to lock in a champion unless he really cooks up something in that last pick of the draft if Shopify give him something. But Insanity, we saw something like a Graves in the last split that he played in. That is a lethality buyer that he can probably pivot to. But for FlyQuest, the most interesting thing to me is that there's still picks left up for Inspired and Bwipo. So they're
going to cook.
Yeah, they are going to bring out something. And when you already have all these shields and heals, you want frontliners. You want bruisers that can stand and really abuse the fact that you're getting so much sustain in these late game teamfights.
Exactly. And even though it's been a while since Bwipo has played on stage, he loves going 4-5 with his pick. So even though I think it's Exodia 1, 2, 3 with the Senna, Seraphine, Orianna right now, I think for the rest of the split, Bwipo is going to be waiting a long time to lock in his champions.
Yeah, Bwipo, and he's definitely one that will play these frontline champs. We're looking to round out the team comp. The Olaf, definitely a really big one for him. He's been on the Udyr train. He was actually playing a version of Udyr that I don't expect him to play in pro play, but he was playing the Titanic Trinity Force top lane Udyr with massive damage and Tiger Max, and it definitely
there's a Liandry's.
It definitely worked wonders in solo queue.
There's
and
a Liandry's variant too of Udyr.
Yeah. Liandry's definitely for the Phoenix form, but we'll see. They have a lot of options open to them for that melee front line.
So waiting on this next pickup from Shopify Rebellion. Do they want to save counterpick for FakeGod in the top lane? Zac.
Boogie.
So Zac did get some really Zac got some nice compensation buffs because on release with new season was really struggling, but got some really good healing from your little bloblets and extra compensation buffs, and it gives them some initiation here to really get that fight started.
So here's my bet. I think this is Zac mid.
I mean, they have Xin.
Yeah,
so.
well, okay, but it could have been top lane Zac as well. But like, I really think there's I saw some solo queue win rates earlier today. Zac mid really low play rate, but it had an insanely high win rate. And against someone like Orianna, you might just not get pushed out super early. I know that during Champs Queue, a lot of players, there's one player, TJ Command Attack, was playing a lot of tanks in the mid lane and just rushing the Kaenic Rooker and all the other magic resist items so that you don't get pushed out. That might be a way to just be able to combat this Orianna.
That's pretty fun. And I think definitely MR stack right now is going to be very effective with the Udyr Ori locked in already. And Poppy, I don't love Poppy. I really want something that can pump a bit of damage. Jarvan would be pretty nice. It's not that good against
Poppy
Lucian.
is really good, though, at countering all of this initiation. Poppy's super good against Lucian, super good against Xin, super good against the Zac as well. If you have, you know, wards and you can scout which angle he's coming from, but
do they have enough damage?
It definitely has a lot of value in the W.
Yeah,
like I said, Whippo, Whippo has definitely been cooking up a lot of Udyr builds.
Right.
So he could go one of the more damage-focused Udyr builds, since he can rely on his team with all this healing and shielding and speed up. He could build a more, you know, selfish, damage-oriented topside Udyr. We've seen primarily these full tanks, and even just a little bit of the splash damage with the AP damage builds there too. So this FlyQuest roster, while the champions themselves don't look initially like they have a lot of damage, there's a lot of ways to squeeze out damage from these champs with the builds.
I'm so excited. We're getting Zac mid. What was that one player from Saigon Buffalo that played Zac mid at Worlds one year? I'm trying to remember. I think Froggy or something. Anyway, Insanity.
So Jensen's played Zac mid before.
Has he?
I was trying to get him to play it in 2021 because it was really high win rate in solo queue, and he actually played it in a number of solo queue games, and we never found the angle to do it on stage. So he'll know a little bit about the laning phase, even though that is 2.5 years ago. But it's definitely not a complete curveball for Jensen.
I'm very excited to get onto the Rift. I was trying to prod Insanity to see what kind of crazy stuff he would bring out before the game, and he said he's got a very deep roster of off-meta picks. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but very excited to see how what they go with. Obviously, people have seen a lot of the other things that they drafted here. We haven't really gone super deep on it, but the Lucian has been the most common bottom lane. That has been really...
Some Malphite and Sion being played, but Zac is a whole other level. And Insanity is going to be the guy to try and make it work today as we head on to the Rift for Game 3 of our opening weekend.
Especially now because there are both AD and magic resist, or armor and magic resist options for Sunfire builds. With the Hollow Radiance available, it's just like there's so many options for tank builds nowadays.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
He's gonna build so much MR early, I feel like. Insanity Zac.
Oh yeah. I mean, if like it could either be a Bomb to rush into the Kaenic Rookern if he needs the wave player, or he could just straight up rush the item.
It's funny too with you know, the bottom lanes and people always trying to line up who has the support and who is the carry down there. Now it doesn't matter as much because we assume that both Seraphine and Lucian on first back will pick up support items as well, and we'll end up with the quad support items on the bottom side of the map, as they do get Raptor Ward at the very least to look out for this Poppy early on. That is one of the things, you know, Poppy especially, taking the Hex Flash and having a lot of these early aggressive angles, even with a lot of the changes to the map. Being able to flash over a lot of these walls come from angles that a lot of the other junglers don't want to invest into. Definitely an advantage, and Whipple's going to be more than annoying.
Boogie might be in trouble. He might be forced to flash here. The Awakened Cryo Phoenix stance, taking so much HP out of Boogie, and he's forced to start on the other side of the map.
That's a really nice play there by Whippo. They had an early ward kill towards their own Raptors. He predicted the start very successfully. And yes, he did lose 3 minions, so Fake God will need to punish him now. It's tough to punish an Udyr top lane. Go on, appreciate these players.
I love that. Let's play through the injuries.
I mean, if everyone's lagging, then everyone's playing the same game.
I mean, did you see the weather in some of the football playoff games last weekend? Like, you just play through. It's part of the sport, right?
Yeah. Sure.
It was like -30 in Kansas City. Is a little bit of lag is going to be so unplayable?
Yeah. It's funny because, like, is the lag gonna hit one team more than the other? It's like, oh no, it started hailing, but the hail is only hitting the other player.
fair.
All right, well, the story that we had started, if we remember all the way back to the beginning of the pause, we were talking about Boogie got invaded by Bwipo, chunked out, flash blown. And so Inspired took that opportunity instantly, as soon as he saw the invade was successful, to go take away the entire blue quadrant of the Shopify Rebellion jungle. And so now Boogie is level 2, got his Raptors and Krugs, that's it. Then Based to come back for his red buff with an inventory full of 1 control ward.
That's not good. Also, just so you know, his flash is actually down. I'm not sure why it's displaying as being up currently because he did have to burn it in that level 1 engage. Question about bottom lane, Kobe, for you. Do you think red side bottom lane is easier to gank?
It is, and there's some small things, even though I know it looks like, oh, yeah, and they were trying to make the map more symmetrical between red and blue. I feel like, and maybe it's something to do with camera angle or something, but you come out a little bit deeper behind the red side when you're coming from that tri-brush. Plus, there being the easier access to Gromp and the side brush up here makes it so much easier for mid laners to get through there. This wall is super easy for you to avoid scuttle crab vision now when you're traveling between mid and bottom. So yeah, I do think red side actually is even more, a little bit easier than the blue side, even though they were attempting to make it symmetrical, obviously.
Yeah.
The Dragon Pit has a little bit of effect, plus it's like a little bit deeper on your tower.
Yeah, and then I was just thinking in the context of this game, that makes the jungle start almost even more dominant for Inspired. Like, he's able to take complete control of that side of the jungle. There's no way Boogie's going to want to be over there to cover. You saw him messing around in mid lane just now, but Jensen sidestepped the Zac Q's, had it warded. It just makes the life so easy for Senna Seraphine, but Insanity is doing a lot of damage. Jensen should be okay, though.
He might have to flash. One more auto attack. The Q. That's his passive pop, so he gets at least a second life.
I don't think you can get it.
Inspired Q.
Oh, and Inspired Q flash! First blood for Inspired!
So the MVP race, right? Full counter jungle. Honestly, Bwipo deserves the credit for the counter jungle.
Yeah, and Jensen deserves the credit for the kill. Flashing into a stationary target and pressing Q MVP.
We're jungle bias up here. Okay.
Listen, we haven't seen Inspired for a whole split. I'm excited to see this guy back on stage.
All you gotta do is look at the scoreboard. I see that jungle CS lead. I see that kill. Whoa.
Sheesh. He's killing it.
Honestly, though, allowing him to rush into the Bambi Cinder super early on here for the Poppy 2. Speed up that clear speed. And they have so much scaling available to them. We're not very surprised here to see the quad support item achieved by both of the bottom lanes. But yeah, definitely is going to be a very difficult game here for Shopify Rebellion considering the start.
Yeah, and you could see right there, it's been 500 days since Bwipo has played on stage. It's been almost 300 days for Inspired. They haven't missed a beat. It was the early invade by Bwipo. He's up on the newest tech, using the Udyr Double R to basically proxy farm. Inspired as well, immediate grubbies, right? They're doing everything as if they are super fresh.
Yeah. All right. First good thing for Shopify, though.
Drake.
We are going to be able to get the Dragon down here in exchange for those Void Grubs, moving up with the Lucian Nami. You were talking about Bwipo, and I want to mention the build here, rushing into healing cutting with the Bramble Vest. It is actually effective against so many of these champions, all of these champions, in fact, on Shopify Rebellion, not just his lane opponent. But Xin, of course, has so much healing. Zac, obviously, and the bottom lane even, too. So we'll have a lot of value out of that.
Yeah, this is one of the healiest games from both sides.
Yeah.
Both teams need heal cut very much. Maybe even a little shield cut for Shopify Rebellion, but I don't necessarily love the shield cut items.
Not going to be the most ideal.
Inspired
nice steal from Inspired. Guys, he was an MVP both in the LEC and the LCS. I mean, he's just showing why that he is going to be one of the top junglers coming into the split.
There's also been a lot of discussion about the value of the Void Grubs buff versus stacking the dragons.
Yes.
And I really feel like the biggest determining factor are the team comps, and if you can push up and actually play for tower plates and get value out of it. And guess what? Since FlyQuest had such a strong start to the game off that invade, I think
Jensen could be close. A little bit more damage. Auto attack flash, and Insanity's going to trade 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
That's a big play by Insanity, especially after getting first blooded by Inspired and Jensen. It's unfortunate that he died himself there because he really could have taken himself back in the game, but it still goes to show the power here. He hasn't even built his first MR item, so he's going to become hugely favored in this matchup if he's able to do that in a 1v1 at level 6.
Zach mid, baby. Count it. Another one for Insanity. If you look back at the champion pool for Insanity even last year, he was definitely one of the LCS players to experiment the most, as we have a graphic for that later, but we'll take a look at the replay first. And here he goes. He hit the Q, and so he got the nice pull back onto the minions.
Really didn't take much there. Jensen had used his ult previously in a trade, so he just knew kind of the kill pressure. Jensen was being a little tricky with that wave, trying to just extend his CS advantage. Still does have a CS advantage and a lead in this lane, but he does have to respect that damage from Zach for sure.
And he went with the Aftershock instead of a lot of the top lane Zacs previously would be doing the Conqueror version for the more brawlier, longer fights, but him getting those extras in. Here's the graphic, though, about last split with his champion pool where he tried to experiment a lot, and I think that will continue this year. Obviously, you can see it with the Zac already.
Boogie with a bit of counter jungling right now as well. Masu's going to see it, but I don't think he's going to be able to stop him.
Yeah, Boogie has Smite, so this will be a red buff conceded, but Inspired was busy taking the red buff on the other side of the map anyway, so no harm, no foul for either of these junglers. Boogie's waiting. Maybe he can catch Masu on his rotation back. He's just going to flank onto Busio. Busio has flash available as well as Encore, so Boogie's got to be careful about how far he goes into this play. Already taken a bit of damage, but no ultimates burned from either Masu or Busio.
Yeah, it's really just trying to harass a little bit, but Busio, Masu should be able to heal up unless...
Wild Turtle dashing in, culling is unleashed. Encore answers back, perfect cleanse, and a nice bubble from Zeyzal. Could be the kill. There it is for Wild Turtle.
Busio down. This could be big for Shopify. If they can get some extra money off of pushing in here, they're going to get the reset. Boogie right up the river to grab Scuttle Crab. And Shopify finds some kills.
Yeah, I mean, I really got to credit Wild Turtle for getting so aggressive because it's a moment where it feels like a completely failed gank, right? Boogie's come in, nothing should really happen, but then Masu and Busio overstep for a moment, and Wild Turtle just completely all-ins right away, takes himself very low, but ultimately gets the kill for himself in the lane.
Take a look at Bwipo here doing a lot as well. After pushing up top lane, Udyr has been such a menace in the top lane, but he continues his counter jungling ways. He's been proxying the wave behind the tower, constantly invading the jungle here as Insanity goes for another attempt.
I mean, Shopify Rebellion, I think they have numbers on this, but here comes Bwipo and Inspired for the flank. Boogie's already forced the flash backwards, but Bwipo is going to go down to Insanity. This mid-Zac is just popping, but now Masu has come back for reinforcements. But Insanity just doesn't go down. He's way too tanky.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, FlyQuest doesn't do damage yet. Jensen has a lost chapter and a bunch of mana items, and Bwipo just moves really fast. Whereas Zac's kit just seems to be incredibly loaded with damage at the moment. He was completely untouchable in that fight, and they win that 3v3 easily.
Excited to see where they go from this one, but it is going to be the rest of the grubs started up by Inspired. They did get all of the 3 original ones, so if he can get all 3 of these ones, they will be able to spawn the 2 Void Mites for the rest of the duration of the game, allowing them to push a lot easier. One thing with the design of the grubs is it looks like he'll be able to finish them out this time around. The rest of the team backing him up here, though, is that you can definitely always look for drive-by steals with the Smites, since there are 3 of them, and your opponent can only have Smite for securing a single one, but that's going to be all 6 here for FlyQuest.
Yeah, and it's also going to be the second Drake for Shopify Rebellion, which is going to put this game in a really interesting state. So, like, we think that FlyQuest has better scaling because of the Orianna, Seraphine, Senna, but Shopify has the faster dragon stacking. So, like, one of the ways that FlyQuest will need to win the game is they'll need to get powerful enough by 4th Drake to stop the Soul from completing. But in the meantime, I feel like Shopify needs to continue to try and engage big-time fights with this Lucian Nami and Zac engage.
Encore and Dawning Shadow lands, Inspired for the flash, is able to punish Wild Turtle this time around, as the rest of FlyQuest are able to answer back.
Yeah, that one wasn't great. It was Wild Turtle seeing what happened. Well, bottom lane, he had no jungler near him, was just trying to get really aggressive with the 2v2 trade, didn't have a kill angle, and gives it up.
That's kind of why I actually really like the late Poppy pick here, because they're going to have so much support from all these Enchanter / AP carries in the backline that he can charge in on the Lucian and just make it so difficult to play Lucian towards the later stages of the game, since he is so short range, even if he does end up going for the rapid fire build later on. It just is so frustrating to play that champion versus all of this AoE and the W for denying your dashes. So we'll see if Shopify here can get anything out of this dragon stacking, but oftentimes it can be really rough if your opponents just group up by the time you get number 3, and then you're faced with, you know, having to charge into this brutal kind of death ball composition.
Yeah, because Shopify Rebellion's comp is all about, we've got 3 divers that are just going to overload FlyQuest comp, and that opens up space for Lucian to operate. But if the Poppy and the Udyr are completely able to stiff those engages, then this Orianna, Senna, Seraphine backline can just operate freely and just whittle down Shopify Rebellion over time.
An incredible amount of burst there on Amasu, though, so he's got to be very respectful. Here's Jensen top.
Gonna make the dive happen with Bwipo. Shockwave should be available for this play. Flash from Faker is able to dodge on the Shockwave, but can't dodge away from the Cryo Phoenix burn damage. As the rest of Shopify Rebellion were trying to collapse. Wild Turtle looking for Matsu on the back line, finds the kill. He's gonna take him out.
Turtle's gonna have to do a lot of work, and he is doing it right now. I love this graphic, though. Looking at the mid-diff and the success rates that they had when they were TSM, they're huge benefits there once they have Insanity with a winning lane.
But he didn't win this lane. So
fair enough, but he's playing Zac, so
he's making plays.
He'll have that value added with the initiation possibilities here, and he did rush for the magic resist Sunfire, the Hollow Radiance that we were talking about at the beginning of the game, which does also have the explosion on killing things, which is a bit underrated part of the item as well, since especially Zac lost splash damage, getting in there and being able to proc that and be able to push really, really fast. They rotated him into the side lane there versus Bwipo.
It's definitely a more aggressive tank item than something like the straight up Canuck Rickard, which is just pure magic resistant HP. I do want to point out Inspired's build at the moment, because with the Seraphine Senna comp, you can't just have pure tank front line. You want to have some damage splashed in there. And I love that Bombi Cinder for the clear of the jungle, and then rushing a Titanic Hydra so that this Poppy is actually a threat.
And look at the other bruiser, baby.
The Trinity Force for Udyr!
The DPS Udyr build I was talking about for Bwipo. He's gonna play it in pro play with the defensive capabilities of his teammates, so he doesn't have to build full defense. He is gonna have that extra damage threat for them as well. And the keyword there when you're talking about the Titanic is the splash damage, Rafa. The splash damage is so good since Shopify are going to be pretty grouped up. They're very short-range comp. And the cone damage from Titanic is actually super underrated as well. So, yeah, Inspired going to be dishing out a whole bunch as well. Bwipo going to be dishing out a whole bunch. And even though we kind of overlook sometimes the Seraphine damage, that plus the Senna plus the Orianna is all very much there too. So, excited to see this clash for the Shopify side, because we're focusing so much, though, on this FlyQuest composition and how frustrating it can be. Shopify, and part of the reason why we're seeing Lucian be so prominent is all of this burst damage. He just got his Bloodsong done, so now is going to be a nice little spike here from Turtle. We've already seen him get some kills with some nice aggressive plays and a bit of burst damage, but now it really goes through the roof because they've got the Imperial Mandate plus the Dreammaker spike damage combination coming from Zeyzal to buff him up. Now he's got the extra Sheen proc as well as the Expose from the Bloodsong.
Yeah.
But I'd say if they can't get this Drake, even though Cloud Soul's not the most important thing, that's a really bad sign, because we know that there's so much scaling on the FlyQuest side. Shopify Rebellion want to make plays right now, but they are down in gold. So it's a little bit difficult for them to actually force a good fight. FlyQuest has the first setup. The Zac's top lane, the Aatrox is pushed in. FlyQuest is first on the mid wave. Even though Lucian Nami is supposed to have the mid control, FlyQuest is here early for this dragon, and this is one that I think Shopify needs to fight.
Bwipo's already setting up line of scrimmage here on the right side. Gonna get pushed out by Fake God at the moment. The rest of FlyQuest have to retreat into their red side jungle. Shopify Rebellion do not want to overextend. Jensen is waiting, applying pressure on the top side of the map, has teleport available. There's some wards. It doesn't give him necessarily a huge flank, but now Shopify Rebellion are going to get cornered into Bwipo. Wild Turtle opens up with the culling. Bwipo is coming around to the right side. great keeper's verdict from
Insanity's in.
Fake God. Insanity's in. Finds Jensen on the backline. He flashes over. Insanity's causing so much disruption into the backline. And FlyQuest is completely split. And Blood Turtle finishes off Jensen.
It's huge! It's huge for Shopify! They're going to be able to get their third dragon, Soul Point, and Insanity isn't done yet!
He's still got the passive, I believe, so he can make this dive happen. Inspired is trying to buy as much time for Busio to live, but Shopify Rebellion got all that they needed.
That is exactly what Shopify needed to have happen here. You could see maybe a bit of doubt in FlyQuest's mind, whether they were actually strong enough to come in there, because you could think Jensen, yeah, just get another plate, get a little bit more turret gold. But this is the gold injection that Shopify actually needs at this stage in the game. Like, not only are they trying to stack towards the Soul, they're trying to come back in the game, so they needed this fight.
Let him cook indeed, and I like what Insanity has cooked up here. The Zac initiation on the backside of that dragon was the really big, crucial part of that team fight, of that replay. You see Turtle trying to dump damage into them, and then Poppy ultimate does not get Boogie, but Insanity flies into the back line. They get them both. The initiation just completely demolishes that backline for FlyQuest, which is supposed to be the safe bastion that is behind these two strong frontliners. But if Poppy and Udyr are towards this dragon and they're focusing on trying to Poppy ultimate and smite steal the dragon, they aren't focused on peeling for their backline. There was no inspired W to block the Zac engage there. So Insanity got the shot right in to the backline, and Blippo there trying to run away on Udyr. Not fast enough.
Yeah, this has got to be a fortress comp for the side of FlyQuest. If you have your front line separated, and it's not going to do you great wonders here. Shopify Rebellion, just Insanity being in that line brush, one of the new geography changes, just taking advantage of how much time he has put in on the new map.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing a team comp like this, you have to be very cognizant.
Oh! Right on to Busio. Encore is used, but it's not going to be enough. He just goes down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the type of angle that Insanity's going to keep trying to pull off, and they're going to try, if they get one more pick, they're going to go Baron. I think that's what they're trying to get right now. They're trying to just find ways to keep Summoner Spells down so Insanity can fly across the whole map with one jump, get a pick, and then accelerate the game.
And you have to be cognizant of his positioning and keep your blockers in place. The whole reason we're hyping up this Poppy pick is for the W, to be able to block these engages from Shopify Rebellion. But if you don't have your front line in the front, you know, protecting those angles and trying to protect their back line, if they are split, they could continue to fall.
I see a bunch of R's in chat. Were those the old ones? I feel like they're new. I hope this is quick. Kobe,
I'm ready.
Let us know.
There's no time. There's no time.
Teams are getting right back in the game.
Timestamps on these. Let me add timestamps to the chat here.
No, we're back in. We're back in. No worries.
Yeah, we're even getting good at pauses.
Yeah.
Much quicker turnaround time now.
Good job, Mark.
Thanks,
He's
Commissioner.
really speeding these up.
Yeah, but also shout out to the players is just working through all the little lag spikes that may or may not be happening in this game.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
We've got those built-in excuses every time. Any misplay is, we were hitting with the lag that time.
Well, this is a bit tricky now, because Shopify Rebellion are on Soul Point. FlyQuest did not do a great job of playing to their composition strengths and actually playing together. Are they in trouble at this point, or is there still a couple more fights to be played out for them?
I mean, I love this game because I'm actually not sure what's going to happen. I think sometimes there's a sense of inevitability when you get against a Senna Seraphine comp, but just with the way Insanity's been able to get some of these engages, it's like they're at like the edge of a cliff in a sense. Like if they're able to get one more fight, get Soul and Baron, then yeah, they can absolutely win. I think if they fail to do that, it becomes much more difficult.
Just currently for Shopify Rebellion, taking up vision control on this top side on the map. Baron is still available, but the Dragon will be spawning in the next minute and a half, so I imagine on this next wave, they're going to be shifting their vision control over to the bottom side of the map.
All right, check about this invade.
Decent damage on an Inspired. Is it lethal? A bubble connects. He still has Flash available, but not going to be enough to take him down.
It's kind of hard for them to make a super deep incision, but Shopify being able to push him out are looking with 4 people on the top side while Insanity's going after Blippo.
Blippo
that's a lot of damage.
2 turret damages because he aggroed Insanity with the Cryo Phoenix form. Insanity's going to chase him, but Blippo should be able to speed away since he did pop Ghost. A turret was taken down on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, there's no opportunity to take Baron. Shopify Rebellion should be able to reset and get ready for this soul point.
I just noticed that Bwipo's quad stancing. He's got like such an interesting skill order. 4 points Tiger, 3 points Turtle, 3 points Bear, 4 points Phoenix. So he's like, there's basically no way to use 4 stances like in the middle of one fight well, but it gives him slightly weaker ways of doing different things. So if he's trying to solo push down a turret, yeah, being able to Tiger at 4 is really good. If he's trying to team fight, sure, being able to Phoenix is good, but then he's going to be slower or have less shielding.
Yeah, and that's been getting super popular for the top Udyr playstyle. Let's see about the Dragon setup as they move in with a Scryer's Bloom here, because the setup for this one could be very much game breaking.
Yeah.
The Soul with all the extra move speed here. All right, watch the peel, watch the peel.
Okay, there we go. Steadfast Presence blocks Insanity's first engage, and Bwipo is now connected with the rest of the backline. But there's still a moment where they're split. Once again, the backline of Jensen is split away from Inspired. He's able to reconnect with them and now provide some more needed assistance. Insanity's taking way too damage on this side of the map. But the passive will pop. Will give him a little bit of life's breathing here. Boogie's trying to provide space as well, using the ultimate to buy space again. But Inspired goes down, and Wild Turtle's able to apply damage. The rest of the backline of FlyQuest just cannot get in. Bwipo's still alive, but I don't know if he can really reconnect with the rest of his teammates.
Look out, Insanity. They're coming for you.
Insanity flashing on the wall. Wild Turtle goes in. 1 versus 3. Man, he's crazy, but that's the classic Wild Turtle. Bwipo soloing down Fake God, forced to flash. The crowd Phoenix Sloan is going to catch up to him. And Shopify Rebellion thought they had the fight, but FlyQuest are fighting back.
Uh-oh, it looks like they're not going to be able to get that Dragon Soul. FlyQuest, they extend the fight with all of this healing with that backline. Even though Inspired does drop first, they're able to chase them down. They pick up the extra kill there onto Fake God, and they get the big reward. They actually stop Shopify Rebellion from the Dragon stacking. They buy themselves another 5 minutes. And when you're looking at 5 minutes with this composition, that looks real nice.
TikTok, they need the time. And there's an interesting thing going on in this game where, like, even if FlyQuest, quote, outscales, you still have to do stuff to win. So their stuff is going to be interesting to see, because a lot of that is grouping up at objectives and then waiting for the other team to try and engage on you and then winning the fight. So it's a multi-step process, and they can't be making mistakes throughout. That fight worked because they were set up as a 5v5 and didn't give the Zach Queen engage. And Bwipo's a fast boy.
But can he escape the Infernal Chains? Not this time around. That last Darkened Blade should connect. And that's Bwipo going down in the bottom side of the map.
All right, can they transfer this pressure over to Baron? They already have a control ward on it. They're pushing out mid lane here first to get mid prio. Boogie is actually stopping up, finishing the Gromp before transitioning over, so there will be a decent amount of time. And it looks like the rotation will occur. Look at this, blue buff is already fully warded up by Shopify. They're hoping for a pick here. Zach looking for the angles. He's charging up.
Inspired has Hex Flash as well. Insanity doesn't find Busio, gets clipped, the shockwave into the Encore. It's a lot of damage, and nice by Inspired to find that wall charge into the Keeper's Verdict for 2-man knockup. Wild Turtle is forced to flash, and they shut down Insanity. Boogie tries to come in, but it's a little too late. If he goes out, this could be Baron for the side of FlyQuest.
FlyQuest was ready for that one. That was an immediate firing of every ability. As soon as Insanity came in, there was no hesitation, there was no fear, and that's, I think, the turning point they need to pull ahead in this game.
Yeah, as soon as he let go of that elastic slingshot, he was wanting that one back.
Yeah.
The rest of the team had already retreated down lane, and that's going to mean FlyQuest will at the very least start this Baron up, unless there is some crazy magic from Wild Turtle here over the back of the pit. Then FlyQuest should be able to get the Baron, should be able to take multiple towers with this Baron Siege too, because this squad is so good at just bullying down a lane, sieging up on a turret.
A moment of reprieve for FlyQuest, as both of those past fights up until then had looked very skittish, and Inspired and Bwipo not always being connected with their backline made Shopify's Rebellion job so much easier. But the one moment where Shopify Rebellion get a little too over-eager to pull the trigger, and FlyQuest are there to punish.
Yeah, I know it's going to be so frustrating for Shopify to look back at, because they had bottom lane push. They still had Fake God down there. He was pushing out the bottom lane minion waves. They had the advantage with the extra kill, 30 seconds, death timer still left on Bwipo. If they just play it a little bit slower there, then you can mount the pressure, have 2 lanes pushing in. They already had fully warded up blue quadrant and the controller on Baron, but now we're in a state where Baron is already on FlyQuest. They're pushing down bottom lane. Udyr's trying to buff up the mid lane here too to at least take outer number 1.
It's a lot of standing gold that FlyQuest is going to be able to get here. They also got they got a 6 grub with the Baron, so it's even more power.
Yeah. We didn't get a chance to see it as much in the early stages of the game, but now that Baron is on their side, and as you mentioned, 6 Void Grubs, these turrets are going to fall so fast. Here comes the little Eds, as Captain Flowers called them. They're spawning in, and they're doing pretty nice damage to these structures.
And they're just staying grouped, right? They're just staying as 5 because that's where they feel like they're untouchable. If they do spread out, if they're not in range to use the Poppy W as Zac flies in, that's when things can get a little bit ugly. But for now, they're very confident just sticking around as 5. And we'll see if that's the correct call, because Insanity could jump on, all of them at once. And we'd have to see how that fight goes out. But FlyQuest, confident here, daring SR to come in.
Yeah, Insanity most likely the one that has to lead. But you have to imagine that Inspired will not use W until Insanity is flying in. No. You have to hope that maybe for Shopify Rebellion, someone else can eat that Steadfast Presence cooldown so that Insanity can get an uninterrupted Elastic Slingshot engage.
I think they learned their lesson from that previous Dragon fight.
Yeah.
Where the backline just cut a Zac right in the face, and they're like, well, we're not going to let that happen again. So they slowly but surely move in with the Baron buff. They get full value out of that Baron buff all the way up through Inhibitor down mid lane. So it should allow for the reset here to get back out. 17 seconds already towards this next Dragon, and they've sent Bwipo with his teleport to push out on that top side. So FlyQuest, again, it's a situation where you want to play a little bit slow. Time is to your advantage. Or they could just go for the chase down here.
Strong right now.
Running down mid. Tidal Wave and Culling already used by Shopify, but Boogie has taken half of his HP already in damage. As the Baron buff is about to expire on FlyQuest. Maybe they found Insanity. Keeper's Verdict, and a lot of ultimates already used. The passive is procced. Meanwhile, Bwipo is soloing FakeGod, making sure that he cannot get to the fight and cannot help out his comrade.
This is how you draw it up. You're like, we're going to pick these champions, we're going to get to 30 minutes, and we're just going to walk at people. There's not going to be much they can do against us. They're not even going for the Drake. They're just walking towards the Nexus.
Yeah, why bother with the top lane split push when you can just run them down? They get their pick, and the brute force is coming for the Nexus turrets. And
Boogie's the only person that can really make an engage. He dashes in, pops the Crescent Guard, but it's not really doing anything, because at this point, Boostio and Masu can just heal everyone up to full. The first Nexus turret falls, the second one evaporates just as quickly. Flashes all around. A last defense will not be made by Shopify Rebellion, and it is FlyQuest that comes back on opening weekend day with a statement win.
New year, new FlyQuest. They pick a very scaly composition. Jensen gets his Orianna once again, and they are taking their time with this one.
You know what that was? They were trying to pat the KDA for Masu. Bwipo said, hey guys, we gotta get this guy Rookie of the Year. We gotta buff up the stats as much as possible while we have the chance. But all smiles around. There's definitely a few hiccups there in trying to play out the composition correctly, but Inspired and Bwipo, like the true parents, making sure that all the kids are like, hey guys, we're not gonna leave you again. This time we're all grouping up as 5 as they barrel down the mid lane.
Love it, love it. Definitely an exciting one. There, you could see some big moments for the Zac mid. Some times where he did get to shine with these initiations. Some good burst damage early on even. Hollow Radiance Rush, definitely like the strat, but in the end, yeah, overpowered, overrun.
Yeah.
With the heals and shields and the double front line here.